Hola, buenas tardes, buen día, depende de donde te encuentres. Gracias por estar aquí en esta entrevista con el doctor Richard Bandler. Una oportunidad especial de hablar con el padre y co-creador de la programación neurolingüística. A partir de ahora voy a hablar en inglés con él. Hello, Dr. Richard Bandler. Thank you for having this opportunity to speak with you a little bit.
It's always a pleasure to speak with you, Xavier.
It was a while from the last interview. I had even hair by then. So it was a long time ago.
Yeah, it's been a long, slow pause, COVID-wise. Glad that's over and we can get back to real life.
So my first question comes, and listening to you today in the seminar, it's all about how at the beginning when you were very young and you were an engineer and mathematician, how you could connect both fields, like psychology with the engineering mind that you had by then?
Well, it was fortuitous and a lot of it was coincidence. And, you know, I believe in Earth Coincidence Control Center, that the fact that I moved into a house that was owned by a psychiatrist, read all the books, saw how disorganized it was, and it wasn't very hopeful either. They believed everything was slow and hard, and they didn't have answers even when they had answers. And then inadvertently, he introduced me to Virginia Satir and Fritz Perls and some of these people that were getting results sometimes. And from, you know, what mathematicians do is they take what works and build calculus for it and figure out what else would work. And I ignored their theories. There were 160 schools of psychotherapy, all screaming they had the right approach when they couldn't systematically get the same result with anything. They couldn't get people over phobias. They couldn't get people less depressed, you know, and sometimes they succeeded, but it really had very little to do with their theories. Their theories were archaic, anthropomorphic, and for the most part, pretty silly. And so all I did was represent what worked and connect it with our neurology and how our neurology worked. Noam Chomsky had built this beautiful model of how people intuitively understood language rather than what grammarians were saying was correct. That, you know, that a native speaker of a language knows what a well-formed sentence is. And he had built a mathematical model of that, which really was a model of how neurology functioned. And when we took that and overlaid it on top of what the successful moments of psychotherapy were, we built a model that allowed us to calculate how to do all kinds of things. And then we went from trying to model psychotherapists to modeling success itself. I got people who had phobias and got over it and found out what they were doing that other people weren't. And started building models to get people over phobias, away from bad nightmares and all kinds of things. We literally went and took cases based on the fact that everybody had given up on people. And, you know, no matter what it was or how crazy it was or how bizarre it was, I mean, some of it was crazy, nutty stuff, you know, people hearing voices coming out of the woodwork and people seeing dead babies floating around and, you know, stuff that didn't match. But I also worked in a research and development place where we made holograms, which are basically real hallucinations. You're seeing objects that aren't there. You're seeing objects that were there. And understanding the mathematics of that helped me to build formulas. And I started teaching psychotherapists. First, they brought their patients, and I'd get them beyond whatever their problem was, and they'd tell their friends, and then I did groups. And it snowballed because people like stuff that works. And the nice thing about NLP is we have no theory to defend. It's not about right or wrong, good or bad. It either works or it doesn't work. And if it doesn't work, we do something else.
Well, one of the things that I hear very often, and now that we are in this kind of crisis, well, always we are in a kind of a crisis, but now apparently we are in a good one. It's people saying, well, I have anxiety, or I have fear, or I have preoccupation, and they talk in what we called nominalizations, but that...
Right. They don't feel like they're doing it. They feel like it's happening to them.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is, when you take verbs and turn them into nouns, you become victims of them. And getting people to understand that, you know, that not only could they feel anxiety about this, they could feel anxiety about a lot of things. If you do it properly, you could feel anxiety about baseball bats. You could feel anxiety about light switches. And sometimes I have people that have stuff that's that crazy. But once you take a verb and turn it back into the verb it should be, or an adverb even more so, then what happens is you start to feel like it's something you're doing. And by getting clients to explain to me how I could do what they're doing, what do I have to do to feel this anxiety? I'm not a terribly anxious person. It's just not in my nature. I'll tell them, and then I'll say, look, what do I have to think in order to create this anxiety? I mean, they've been scaring us. I mean, it's just the nonsense of quarantining all well people. I mean, it's just as a concept, it seems utterly stupid to me. We'll quarantine everybody that's well to hope that nobody ever gets infected. On a worldwide scale, and of course, everybody's economy went south, and by taking away everybody's freedom. And it didn't seem to do that much. I mean, they quarantined the hell out of us. I got COVID twice anyway. I got inoculated. I still got COVID. So their big plans didn't work that well, but my immune system did. And that's what counts. We need to trust the good parts of ourselves. But yeah, there's a lot of agoraphobia now. A lot of people, even going to seminars, they're not filling up because people are afraid to go outside because they might get sick. Yeah. Well, guess what? That's been true your entire fucking life. Your whole life, there's been the chance to go outside and catch something, whether it was the flu or this or that or this or that. Question is, are there good treatments? And now there actually are. And yet people are still afraid and still anxious. They have to take control over their thoughts. Till you change the way you think, it will change how you feel, and therefore it will change what you're capable of doing. You're not going to be happy and healthy and have a dynamic, wonderful life in your bedroom in front of a computer. It's not going to work. Time to come outside and rejoin the human race. And not only that, win the race.
I remember when you came to Barcelona and we did the Secrets of Being Happy, and you said something that you said, happiness is not something, it's an adverb. It's how happily do we do things. And I thought that was a very clever thing to say. Yeah.
Well, it in fact, you don't become happy unless it's a part in a play with 6 other dwarves and an unconscious woman. Happily isn't even a verb. Happily is an adverb. It's how you do something. One happily goes to the store. One happily kisses their wife. One happily greets their children. It's a state of mind. And if you're going to become happier, then, you're going to have to learn to take good feelings and spin them up and aim them at the activities you do. People have become more anxietor, as far as I can tell now. Everything people are anxious about everything. I coughed in the supermarket and cleared my throat, and people spread like I sprayed water in a group of cats. That's just a little too much paranoia for me.
And when we talk about persuasion, for example, that everyone has these little clues or these keys to persuade people. And when I learned persuasion from you and from John Laval, both of you, it changed completely my way of seeing persuasion, because it was everything about making decisions, how people make decisions and how to affect that. And that's, again, is process and not just words.
Yeah, decisions don't end with the decision. It's an ongoing process. That, at the core of our thinking, we are constantly deciding and redeciding everything. And if you have no control over that process, bad stuff can happen. You can get yourself in a lot of trouble. And some of that trouble is not noticeable. Sitting around in a state of anxiety all day long is not good for your health. It's not good for anything. It's not good for your wealth. It's not good for your relationships. It's not good for your children. You have, as far as I'm concerned, a moral obligation to be a happier person. And in the book, The Secrets of Being Happy, one of the first things we found out is now medically, we have 10 years of research that shows us happier people recover from surgery faster, get over illness faster, are less likely to die from things, and are less likely to get sick. They have stronger immune systems. So be happy.
And when we talk about achieving goals, again, happens the same, because it's like the clues of achieving goals. When achieving goals, it's from my understanding, from what I learned from you, it's a set of skills that allows you to achieve goals. So
well, this is true in anything. If you don't have the right skills as a carpenter, you can't build a chair. Yeah. And this is true as being a salesman, a CEO, a parent, everything else. Those skills are learning skills and cognitive skills. Your ability to hear and understand language and influence language is what we do as professional communicators. Most of the people on the planet, no matter what they do, have to sell their skills, have to sell their services, and they have to be able to have good communication skills to be strong in their profession. They have to have good learning skills so that they can stay state of the art. Yeah. The people that are in the business of fixing certain devices, those devices aren't around anymore. I had to search high and low to find somebody to fix the old tape recorder I bought in 1970. You can't get parts for it. You can't buy tape for it. I have cameras you can't buy film for. Yeah. And, to be the guy that just continues to do the same thing, in this planet, you're going to get antiquated. And technology is evolving very fast, and we have to evolve with it. We have to be as smart as our smartphone, if not smarter, so that we know who to call and what to do and make good decisions, so that we have happy, functional lives.
So when people identify themselves, what they do or what they feel, that's one of what I found most of the common problems, where they say, oh, I am something, I am a loser, or I am this.
I am depressed.
Or I am depressed.
I am unhappy.
Yeah. So how...
When they tell me I'm unhappy, I go, I'm 72.
So basically the problem is that they are not thinking in process. They are not thinking in that they are doing things in their brains.
They're making pictures in their head and creating feelings that limit the range of their God-given right to be flexible. And that if anything we were given, see, the organism in this universe, no matter what organism you're talking about, with the greatest range of flexibility to adapt. You have to adapt. And if the way you've adapted is to complain about the fact you're not adapting, it's a very poor adaptation. And things don't just adapt over generations, they adapt in a lifetime. This is why we were given consciousness in the first place. Your conscious ability to think allows you to change what you're thinking, how you think it, how big you're thinking it, how small, how close, how far away, and what's in those pictures. Because if you keep making crappy pictures, you get crappy results. I had an athlete, wonderful athlete, top of his field, right? Had one bad game, and then he started reliving that game every night, having nightmares about it, started thinking about it all day, and then having nightmares all night. And of course, his career started going like this. And, as soon as he stopped thinking that and started thinking good things, started asking about, what if you played better than you ever played? What if you threw pitches that are better than any of the pitches you threw? If you start asking those questions aim your mind. And if you're not asking good questions, then you go into the dumpster.
And then when it comes, the part of the people take themselves too seriously? Is that?
Way too seriously. That, your sense of humor, God gave that to you so that you wouldn't get stuck. And if you get stuck, that typically people get really serious about being stuck. And, the level of clients I've seen from the heads of major Fortune 500 companies to the most locked up schizophrenic, they're all way too serious. And that's how they get stuck. They share that in common. I can tell from their tone of voice when the person comes in and goes, oh yes, the demons flew through the wall every night and talk to me and torture me and do this. And it's no different than my competition has made it impossible for me to expand my business. They're both just beliefs, and the easiest thing to change is what you believe.
Okay, just the last question is, for all these people that are learning NLP, that they are beginning, I know that a lot of people ask you the same question, but for me it's important, and for the people listening probably too. What is your advice for those people that are beginning with NLP, that they are in the first steps?
Well, when people are looking for somebody to learn NLP from or somebody to do NLP with them, whether it's a practitioner, a master practitioner, or a trainer, look for somebody who is licensed. It's licensed trainer of NLP. You know, there usually be a little circle R in there somewhere, because these are the people that I approve of what they're teaching. And there are a lot of people who have anointed themselves, you know, or somebody else anointed it. And, you know, when you have a cookie cutter, if you made a cookie and then made a cookie cutter of that cookie and then a cookie cutter of that cookie, it gets a little bit sloppy as things goes along. And I'm fond of saying there are lots of people stuck at various levels of my development. Don't be one of them. Get state-of-the-art people. Their certificate should be from the last 2 or 3 years, at least. And they should be the kind of people who are still going back and getting more training, because the people who are good at this keep coming back and getting more and more training. You know, someday I'll be gone and it will be very hard to contact me. I expect those people to be sitting around with an old lady with a crystal ball going, Richard, are you there? Are you there? Because I've got a lot to offer, but not everybody learns everything. And people who think they know it all are the wrong person to go to.
Okay, thank you very much.
You bet, Xavi. Good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you too. Y gracias a todos por los que habéis estado aquí escuchando, y espero que os haya gustado tanto como me ha gustado a mí. Siempre es un placer hablar con el Dr. Richard Bandler. Muchas gracias and thank you again.
You bet.